As our community struck, divide our community. Still with our community.
As a community, we as a community, members of our for one another, as a community feels fresh. Needs of our community. To be out in the community, conducting community engagement patrol. For the community, they are serving.
Letting the community get to know the needs of the community, and the external third parties, small businesses, developers, community development, demands of the community, working with community. Worcester is a community. Members of the community gave their time are full, in addition to increasing play in our economy, in our community, thriving community, welcoming community,
I want to commend City Manager Eric Batista for his commitment to report directly to the community, those at home as well as those here, even during challenging and divisive times.
The most expensive podcast episode I've ever recorded.
The most expensive podcast episode you've ever recorded, and it will never see the light of day because I wasn't even recording.
Yep.
That was, yeah.
I mean, attempted to record, yeah.
Right. And here you are yet again with a drink somewhere near the laptop I just saw.
It's on a different plane of existence.
Oh my God. All right. So today is frickin' Thursday, May 22nd. This entire month has been fucked. This is every day is a goddamn blur. We were just midway through talking about how.
Are you recording?
Oh yeah, I'm recording. We're just going right in. We're going right into this. Whatever.
Fuck it.
We were just. I decided to press the play button because we were halfway through talking about why we haven't put out an episode in a little bit. Which was, when was this, Chris? It was last.
This past Sunday.
Which was already a hilarious, all right, we got to push it back to, we were planning for noon, and my writing was going so slow because I was so exhausted. I had to get my post out. So I was texting you the whole day. I was like, let's push it to 2. Let's push it to 3. 5. Actually, 6. Actually, I don't think I can do it anymore. Finally got my post out at 7, and then you were like, yeah, well, I can record at 8. So, I took a little walk around the neighborhood, had a little dinner, got a second wind. I was like, fuck yeah, we're going to record at 8. We're just going to blast this shit. We're just going to fucking get it done. I'm about to press play, and I can't see it from where your camera angle is, but I hear the biggest calamity in the world. It's like glass breaking, and then you're just like, shit, fuck. And so, Chris, what happened? What happened? Tell the people at home.
Well, what had happened was, we were recording a little bit later than we normally do. Sunday night, my lovely wife needed to get to bed. She had to be on the road early in the morning for work. So I was like, all right, I will set up at I've probably mentioned this, but we live in a postage stamp apartment, like a lot of people do, but it's really small. It's like 750 square feet. So Aaron has a work desk kind of where normal people would have a dining room table. And so I was like, all right, I'll set up at your desk, close the doors up. Hope, I won't be too loud, whatever. So I get everything all set up in there. I get all ready to go. And part of my setup is I fill myself up a nice full 32-ounce Hydro Flask of water. And the other part of my preparations was I filled myself up a nice, I don't know, what do you call these fucking bourbon glasses? Like a highball glass.
A rocks glass.
Bourbon and Diet Coke. Yes, a rocks glass. As I do when we record, during the post 5 o'clock hours. And we sit down, we get everything going. This is a lesson I've learned 1,000 fucking times in my life, except I haven't learned it, which is like put in a little bit more effort and you'll be rewarded. And I didn't do that. I pushed Aaron's work keyboard off to sort of the edge of the desk, and it got right in there. We're just getting ready to go. We're checking our shit. I start the recording on my end, and the keyboard starts to fall. And just by reflex, I reach out to catch it, and I knock all of the liquid all over her work desk, all over the floor, all over myself, and unfortunately, all over my computer.
Oh my God.
So Bill hears some calamity and then a little zap. On my end, I'm trying to like clean shit up. I'm like more worried about, it's not even like occurring to me. I wiped the top of the laptop real quick. And I'm trying to save Erin's work stuff. Cause she has like patient files and shit.
Oh yeah.
I don't want
that's way more important. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, she comes out to help me. We get everything cleaned up. She's not even mad because she's amazing. And then I go to pick up my laptop and I realize it is off. And that's not the state I left it in. And it wouldn't power back on. Long story short, the most expensive outdoor cats, hopefully ever. $2,000 and a good lesson later. Here I am on my new MacBook, which I kind of needed anyway. So, my hand got forced. What are you going to do?
We could put on a hell of a live episode for less than what that cost you.
Yeah. Yep. We sure could.
Yeah. I have to admit, I was kicking myself for not hitting record and catching that. But by the time that it had happened, it was like it was in the blink of an eye. So like I guess the moral of the story is I should just hit record as soon as we start talking every single time, because that would have been a really fun thing.
It would have been. You all could have lived it with us.
So before we start getting into the serious shit, because there is serious shit, but I have been drowning in it, and it's nice to talk about anything else. I gotta cue up this little clip that Katie took with a GoPro that I bought because I'm sick of using my phone as a camera for live events, and I finally just got it set up. And earlier today, going down to the liquor store at the base of the hill, get a 12-pack, and Katie's messing around with the camera in the car. We pull out, and this liquor store is right next to Greendale's, the bar that's on West Boylston Street.
I got to ask you, are you an O'Hara's guy or a Greendale Liquors guy?
Oh, O'Hara's, 100%.
Okay, yeah.
Those are my guys.
When I'm up that way, same. All right.
You can see me, never mind. I'm not going to say what I was about to say, but I go there pretty frequently. And, I live up on the hill over there. So, take a nice little walk down most of the time. This time it's raining. But I'm like, Katie, I finally got this GoPro that I've had for like a week set up. Let's do a little vlogging. She turns it on. All of a sudden, we're right next to a Mo Bergman campaign event at Greendale's. There's a Mo Bergman sign.
Right.
There's a Mo Bergman sign. I didn't know about it. I don't really know when campaigns do campaign events. I don't really go to any of them, but we see a little Mo Bergman, that classic orange and black campaign lawn sign that he has with two orange balloons right next to Greendale's, and a bunch of Mo Bergman style aesthetic people walking in and out, and there's cars everywhere. And I should just play this clip because it's pretty it's pretty funny.
I'm dying. I'm dying.
Plug it in. All right, so tonight we're patrolling the streets of Worcester.
Is that a fucking shoot this? Is this a fucking campaign?
Fuck that place. We thought you were cool the other day.
Greendale's is for Mo Bergman?
Fuck you, Greendale's! Oh, there's a cop. Go get him. All right, yeah, we're patrolling the
You'll never
streets
guess who we see.
of Worcester,
Actually, you might
Massachusetts
guess who we
tonight. We're specifically looking for criminals.
Oh my God.
This is a campaign. There's too many people here.
Greendale's was fucking packed from over. Oh, look, it's Alex Gladiola.
Alex Gladiola.
What's
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Who's that guy?
Who are you?
Jesus, Mo Bergman,
Wow.
packing out Greendale's, the
Wow.
biggest fucking asshole on the city council. Who knew?
Who fucking knew?
There's 3 more minutes, but that's we're just vlogging the neighborhood. We don't need to play that. We drove by Greendale's packed for Mo Bergman, absolutely packed out.
Oh man, that bums me out. You know, I haven't been there in a long time, but they used to have decent live music and meat raffles, which you know I'm a big fan of. That's a bummer, man. What a fucking place we live, where it's like, of course you just go out in your own neighborhood to go to the liquor store, you fire up your new GoPro, having no idea what's about to happen, and there's a Mo Bergman event in your neighborhood, and then you drive around the corner and there's Alex Guardiola.
It is all just a little incestuous mob at the top echelons of Worcester city power, which is probably a good way to talk about the news of the week. It's a good way to contextualize it, actually.
Yeah.
What if there was a tiny, know-nothing blob of completely mediocre people with a stranglehold on the levers of power in this city? What if that was the case? What would happen?
What if the second largest city in New England was notable, even within New England, as being an absolute towny political backwater?
Oh,
what
man.
if?
So what if? Right. What if? I mean, that's a hypothetical. The State of the City was last night, and the State of the City got, just absolutely disrespectfully and rudely interrupted by demonstrators who were, pointing out that, the Worcester Police Department just kind of helped ICE get away with a really shitty raid on a mother. So it's weird that he talked so much about unity. But
yeah,
he did use the word unity to silence a protester at one point, which I thought was pretty cool. He just talked over them the entire time, and at one time there was this protester that was like shouting, and he was like, "We need unity," and then he went, "Unity, unity," which is awesome. Awesomely Orwellian thing to do. So that's top of mind for me because I've been sort of writing about it all day. But Chris, you were down there, right?
I was in the vicinity. Yes,
Yeah.
The short answer is yes. I was not inside.
Okay.
A little birdie had told me that there might be some disruptions to the event and asked if I might be able to be a little unofficial legal eagle, given that is generally like watching the response from the cops. I started on the outside, and that's actually where I wound up staying. I had my actual scanner with me. That wouldn't have worked too well inside. But yeah. So I was nearby, but not in the building. What a wild. For starters, I'm just really hung up on this idea of like, I don't know. We got a really good illustration of what Eric Batista and I guess the rest of city leadership, by extension, thinks unity is. And it seems like they think unity is I talk, you listen.
Yes.
Among other things.
Yes. Unity. Eric Batista because he's a product of that environment. But this is like, we're all living in sort of the rhetorical shadow of Joe Petty with this, we need to just come together talk. Like, that's like a constant refrain. Like when times are tough, you know, they both said it yesterday. When times are tough, we just need to come together. We just need to come together and figure out these problems. Now, we just need to come together is like a perfect like politics in the English language test case. For language that's just entirely devoid of any meaning except for that which the listener ascribes to it, right? It doesn't mean anything on its own. So it can mean whatever anybody wants it to mean. So if you're like asking yourself, what do you think, you know, Joe Petty means by that? Or what do you think Eric Batista means by that? You can kind of get into this trap where you're like considered like a nut for talking like that, because everyone knows what that means. Come together. We're just coming together. Like everyone, we know what that means. But like, Chris, define, what does come together mean? What does come together? What does that actually entail?
I mean,
in a material sense.
I mean, sorry, I was trying to remember the words to the song. I was gonna break out.
Come together.
Here comes old slowpoke. I don't remember. I'm not a big fan of the Beatles. Probably one of my most hated takes. Anyway, what I will say is that coming together and unity without any analysis of power isn't worth the paper it's written on or the air it took to speak it, right? Like, I don't have unity with Eric Batista because Eric Batista, at least on paper, by occupation, runs the city, and I don't, and I don't really have any recourse to do anything about that except like through this Byzantine, vote for better councilors, hope they win, hope enough of them get in, hope that they will get a better city manager, which is like, a long process. Eric Batista and I share no unity. I'm just seeing now, by the way, was that 48 times he used the word?
No. So for listeners at home, I have the transcript pulled up. I pay for a transcription service because it makes my life so much easier. And I searched unity. And yes, it was 48 times for unity, but unity is also at the end of community. So between the two of those.
Use that word a lot too. In a way that was,
community. Right.
A little different than the way I think about it. But anyway.
Yeah. So I want to, this is the moment that I was talking about earlier. I have it queued up. But this is like a little taste that I think will give you the overall sort of tenor and the like sort of breathless. What's the right way to put this? Like breathlessly sure that you're making really profound points when in fact you're saying nothing at all. This was sort of the climax of that sort of thing. Batista, he comes out right out of the gate. What I'm about to play is about 20 minutes into his speech, but he comes out right out of the gate and he's like, first thing I got to talk about, Eureka Street. People are hurting. He doesn't have any criticisms to level on the police department that made it much worse or give any concrete plan for what the city is going to do to ameliorate the situation the next time something like this is bound to happen. But he goes, I didn't like what I saw, right? That was like, so we're supposed to feel good about that. And then he brings it all back home here with an Obama reference. Well, I'll just play it.
I know right now we're hurting.
Yeah.
We're hurting. And in many ways, the community feels fractured. But I'm calling on you now to come together and remember that Worcester stands for, and remember that we are at our strongest when we stand together. As former President Barack Obama said at a youth town hall in 2010, what is important is that we make sure to work together, that we understand our strength comes from unity, not division. Let me repeat that. Unity. Unity and not division.
And then we have a ice off our streets chant.
Eric is in rictus at the podium.
Yeah, he's just letting it happen. Letting it happen. And then?
I invite you to take a minute to think about what you have been able to overcome when we come together and have each other's back.
When we come together and have each other's backs. God, dude, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? After our police department did what it did, have each other's backs. Thomas Duffy is on record. I don't think we've talked about this on this program. He's on record. WBUR got it, saying that the Worcester Police Department's first concern was the safety of the federal agents.
From the perspective of the first officers arrived on scene, the biggest risk right now is to protect the safety of the federal agents based on, the actions that they observed when they got there.
They were set against the community the entire time. They were not coming together. They were not working together. They were there to rough up anybody who got in ICE's way. What is he talking about? That's crazy, man.
Yeah, and a thing I always tell people, and I've used this a lot in the labor context of why cops are not in solidarity with working people and why they are class traitors, et cetera, et cetera. For people that find that to be a little bit harder of a concept, we can and maybe we will to some in some bits and pieces, and I mean we already have talked about kind of the finer points when something like Eureka Street happens, and especially when there's a ton of witnesses and a ton of footage, people, I think, very rightly, as you were doing apparently all weekend, like really go in and dissect, second by second, camera by camera, and that's really important. But like, if you want to take away the general thing you should take away, you don't need to do any of that. I always tell people, look at who the cops are facing, who the cops have to their front and who the cops have to their back. The people that they have to their back are the people they're protecting, or the property or whatever they're protecting. And the people to their front are the people who are potential suspects and potential arrestees at any moment. And you can see that in this video. You can see it on a strike line. You can see it lots of places. That's all you need to know. Which way were the cops facing? They had their backs to the ICE agents, and they had their fronts to the people who were trying to stop, delay, reduce the violence of a federal agent kidnapping. Right.
Just today, actually, I actually haven't read the story yet, but just today, I think MassLab has it, that ICE did actually kind of seriously hurt the mother that was taken. Let me pull that up real quick.
Yeah, this is, I hadn't seen it. I'm not surprised. They weren't very gentle.
No. I've been meaning to read this all day, but I have to put it, I stopped paying for MassLab because it's not worth it. But so I got to put this through my fun little thing that everyone knows about and no one talks about.
Yeah, the thing that makes paywalls utterly useless, except against I don't know, boomers, Joe Biden.
Yeah, right. But it's funny because this one wasn't archived yet, so now I have to go through this whole thing and archive it. But anyway, while that's happening, so Joe Petty famously, upon release of the body camera, says, "Well, at least no one got hurt." I think that was also after the last time we recorded. That was last week, which is like a crazy,
Yeah, this is before we knew about mom getting hurt, but after we saw the daughter get thrown to the ground, basically on her face.
Yeah,
by multiple police officers.
And like as it came out a few hours before the body camera footage, and it served as a teaser for like literally one of the body camera for Officer Vallejo. I think that's how you pronounce the name. I'm not sure. Officer Vallejo. It's literally like I made a joke video for Instagram or whatever, putting like the NFL Sunday on Fox theme song behind him, like pulling his gloves down as the car's rolling up, and he literally gets out of the car like goddamn Ray Lewis, runs straight into the crowd, just starts pushing people. He sees this 16-year-old girl run after the car carrying her mother into the oblivion of the forced removal machine, and just fucking makes the tackle, bro. He just ESPN top 10, dude. It's crazy, dude.
Yeah, as they say in police speak, the fight was on.
Yeah. The fight was on, and it was not with the ICE agents. That's for sure. But anyway, so yeah, keeping in mind that Joe Petty said at least no one got hurt. Crazy spin, by the way. Why would you say that? Like, you don't know that. Why would you say that? It's like it's just the mediocrity of it all, dude. So this from Adam Bassett at Mass Live. We have Roseanne Ferreira de Oliveira has a damaged shoulder and is not receiving any pain medication at the facility where she is currently detained, according to her lawyer. So that's a common theme, actually, with these ICE detentions. It was the case with Ozturk. Luckily, Ozturk has been released, but ICE was denying like inhalers to Ramesh Ozturk.
I will make a small distinction that is I'll make a small distinction, then I'll explain why it's really not. Ramesa Ozturk, when in Louisiana, was under the care and custody, and I'm using those words very loosely, of GEO, which is a for-profit private prison company. I mention this because I believe Wyatt is not a GEO facility, but I'm pretty sure it is a private facility that is contracted to do federal detention of various kinds. I know a few people who've been held in Wyatt on various federal charges that had nothing to do with ICE. But yeah, like, I mean, so I mentioned that because, like, another part of we've been talking about this all along, like how much of this regime, how much of this, neo-fascism is essentially farmed out to the lowest bidder. And also just like, yeah, I mean, I dealt with hundreds and hundreds of people who've been in jail. And they'll tell you, like, yeah, there's medical. Maybe they see you in a few days. You're probably getting something between nothing and maybe Tylenol. You're not getting anything else. Yeah, I know. I knew a guy who died of a brain tumor that he developed or that presented while he was in the Worcester House of Corrections, locked up pretrial on like some, pretty minor charges. He was in for several months before he could get out. He was complaining of this terrible pain in his head. They gave him nothing to ibuprofen. And when he got out and got to the doctors, he found out he had a brain tumor. They probably could have interdicted had he gotten prompt medical care, but he didn't, and he died. So yeah, that shit happens. Sorry, I'm taking us off on a tangent.
Well, it should be said as often as possible in the biggest platform that we can. That the horrors of like the entire criminal justice system and the entire mass incarceration system is like unique to America, and like with any justice in the world will be examined after the fall of America by historians of hopefully a more just society in the future to be a black mark on human history.
Yeah,
And
truly.
with that lead in, would you be thrilled, Chris? I know you're going to be thrilled about this research I just did on the Donald W. Wyatt Detention Facility in Central Falls, Rhode Island. It is the nation's first publicly owned and privately operated adult secure correctional facility. Guess what the name of the owner is? Or no, the operator.
The owner.
The name of the owner is the Navy? Jesus. But the name of the operator, this privately operated adult secure correctional facility, dude, calling it a correctional facility is just fucked. I don't think we should use that word ever, because who is getting corrected here?
No one.
What does corrected mean? But the name of it, Central Falls Detention Facility Corporation. That is the public-private entity that owns this. Just like the, I don't know, like every quasi-governmental thing, it has this absolutely vague, meaningless name, Central Falls Detention Facility Corporation.
Yep.
And then it seems like the publicly owned part includes the U.S. Marshal Service, the ICE, and the Navy. It does not say who the Central Falls Detention Facility Corporation contracts out, but we can guess. I mean, we don't need to dig into it much more than that. You're not getting treated well here.
Yeah. No, it's a terror. I mean, it is a terrible place, even in the context of jail incarceration. Like it's really, really bad. And the only reason I even remembered this like weird quirk of public-private partnership is because I've tried to put money on people's books there, and I've tried to communicate with people there, and it's really fucking hard to do. The state, like the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, isn't exactly like falling over themselves to make either of those things easy either, but they at least use a few of a selection of standardized sort of features. Wyatt doesn't do any of that. So good fucking luck like getting someone a letter or putting money on their books.
It's crazy, man. And the marquee of this administration is to like rapidly build out the infrastructure for these public-private partnerships of detention and deportation. And what we saw on Eureka Street, should be said, is the very tippity tip of the iceberg. The ICE agents who, ICE agents and then federal agents from other federal agencies on loan, and then whoever else, we don't even know where any of them work. The people that are going to the neighborhoods like they did, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's a whole bureaucracy that's propped up and props up this shit. So it's bad news. It's really bad news. And the response from Eric Batista to this has been severely lacking. It's hard to even put into words how grossly inadequate everything from the city has been after this. Really leaning on this, we can't interfere with the federal government, right? Thing, to the point where Eric Batista put out, did you read this or look at it at all yet? The executive order that Eric Batista put out?
Oh, I did, Bill. I studied it extensively. I looked for so much as one thing that it substantively changed about the way that the police responded to Eureka Street, and there isn't any. This was $330,000 a year city manager language for we're not actually changing anything in, I don't know, 800 words.
Right. It was only like 4 pages with like insane margins and a huge header on each page. And it was just like, yeah, we're not going to do anything different than what we did. And that was accompanied by round 2 or 3 of attacks on District 5 City Councilor Attell Hajii from Thomas Duffy of the police union, who is the person, obviously, who in a sane world would be fired in the wake of this. That is the guy that needs to get fired. Like it's so insanely obvious that he is the person who is actually giving marching orders to the rank and file of the police department, both on how they operate and behave at a scene and how they discuss it afterwards, and how the mediocre blob that controls city politics talks about it afterwards. Because he's just been on like, how dare you put hands on an officer of the law, right? It's crazy, man. It's like the officer of the law doing what? Is this legal?
Yeah.
Do you agree with this? Crazy.
I know you've described him as Worcester Vic Mackey, and I just cannot think of a better way to describe him. Anyone who hasn't seen The Shield won't get that, but go watch it. It's really good.
You should watch The
He's
Shield.
Worcester Vic Mackey, dude. Like, that's what he is.
You watch The Shield, and the main character of that show is one of the most powerful people in Worcester. He's like a 1-to-1. With the same grievances, the same sort of look on the world. And I mean, I'm going to throw out like an alleged by others and not me thing in front of this. I think we can be pretty sure that some of the criminality also translates based on how Thomas Duffy's gang unit were calling themselves the Jump Out Boys. After the real Jump Out Boys and goddamn LA sheriffs, like, that story broke. Like, they're using the word for one of the most violent, illegal, criminal gangs in policing history to describe themselves after those guys got got. They were like, yeah, that's what we are. We're just like them. Does Thomas Duffy have any tattoos?
Good question.
And are they similar to tattoos that other people in the police department, like maybe Brendan Tivnan, have? These are good questions. I'm not asking them personally. I don't care.
Oh, of course. If you wanted to know why we were asking a question that might seem random like that, Google LASD gangs.
Yeah, LASD gang tattoo. Just see what comes up. There's a really good podcast series about. I know that Trunon just did an episode that sort of touched on the LASD gangs, which is probably where I was recalling that from. But like last year, it's called a violent history or a hidden violent history, something like that. It was like a 12-part series on the LA Sheriff's Department. I'll find it and link it in the notes, but really cool stuff. A lot to be learned.
Without going like too far down this road, when we say gangs, we are not being even 1% hyperbolic. They operated and still operate as literal gangs in tandem and often in competition or cooperation with other criminal gangs that are not run by police officers. They are literally doing all the stuff that gangs do. Some of their alleged and very credibly alleged initiations include hurting and killing people. Just as, we hear all the time about the scary gangs that don't have badges might do, for example. It's really, really wild shit. And I don't think these guys have their shit together quite as much as those guys do, but the intent is the same. Let's just say, I will say, my personal opinion is Thomas Duffy does not have the same standards of law abiding for himself and his friends in the force as he does for everyone else. I feel pretty comfortable saying that.
Well, yeah. I mean, you'll remember that Thomas Duffy did this. Thank God for This Week in Worcester for documenting this with sort of like objective clarity. But anybody who knows anything about the Worcester Police Department saw Thomas Duffy right after the DOJ report comes out get up in front of City Council and say that he's never had a single complaint. He's never had a single complaint filed against him. Turns out he has the longest complaint card of anybody in the Worcester Police Department. Tom Marino got all of those officer complaint cards, or not all of them, but like the ones that you need to get. Because here's a little secret that no one in power is ever going to say to you once in your life, dear listener. This thing about the bad apples, it is a complete open secret who the bad apples are. It's not hard to figure out. Everyone who has any power to do anything about the bad apples knows exactly who the bad apples are. The bad apples are also among the most powerful people usually in whatever police union governs the collective bargaining structure of that municipality. The bad apples rule the roost in every city. And no one talks about it that way because that would mean confronting that political reality. That would mean saying it out loud. That would mean admitting your own powerlessness in the situation. So you don't hear that. You don't hear people talk about it.
I'm so glad that you brought this up because I hear more often than not when I hear someone talk about a few bad apples or some bad apples in relationship to cops, it is more often than not these days someone who is some level of a police apologist. And all you have to do to lose the entire premise of what you're saying when you use that adage or whatever, if it's not an adage, I don't know, sue me. I'm tired. All you have to do is just finish the rest of the thing. What is it? What do a few bad apples do, Bill? They spoil the barrel. A few bad apples spoil the barrel. The whole point of the thing isn't like, oh, there's a few bad apples. What can we do? The point of the bad apple thing is that if you don't take the bad apples out, they make all the other apples bad. That's what literally that's what the bad apples thing is. And that's what we're watching happen. And it's just like, we're putting more apples in and pointing to the bad apples and saying, do what that one's doing.
Yeah. We're
the barrel's rotten. Like, of course it is.
We're trying to incentivize the tree to grow more good apples. Now, Chris, I know you're not a tree, so you can't speak to this on like a personal level. But answer me this question: does the tree?
You don't know that.
Does the tree, in your experience, eat the apples?
You shouldn't assume, but you're right. I'm not a tree. I don't identify as a tree. And no, the answer is it doesn't.
So for the tree, how the apples taste, it's not really like...
Kind of inconsequential.
Does the tree care? Does the tree care how the apples taste? But the apples grow on the tree. So what does the tree want? I mean, probably to get bigger, right? Most trees just want to get bigger. Getting bigger means more apples.
Not just more apples, more rotting apples. That's where the seeds come from to make more trees. If we're going to really, take this to its logical conclusion, the tree is actually incentivized to eventually have the apples rot. And that's
right.
why we, as not trees, take those apples out of the proverbial barrel. But we're not doing any of that here. So, yeah.
No, we're just getting more apples and then refocusing the public on the good ones while the bad ones also grow at the same rate that the good ones grow. Seems like that's a really, really, really bad policy for the health and well-being and safety of the public, but a really good policy for people who put body cameras and tactical vests and guns on the apples, right?
Yeah, it certainly seems like, how could you look at what we're doing here and say what we're doing is not just being like, well, let's throw more apples and money into the apple pile and see what happens.
You know what's really going to help our apples out is if we give a for-profit tech company about $1 million a year to tell our apples where to go. It's going to be, that'll really help the Apple's situation out a lot. Yeah. What if we just put cameras on every apple at a gross expense to the taxpayer that will never be recouped? Will that lead to the apples behaving better? I don't know. It kind of seems like we're watching body camera footage of them behaving badly, and we can't still do anything about it. we just get a better view.
We can take rotten apples and we can train them to be fresh apples just with more training, etc.
Everything goes back to this underlying reality that if you can't do anything about Thomas Duffy's employment with the city of Worcester, you cannot do anything about there is no police reform. It's like, and we're very far away from a political reality in which there's anything to be done about that.
Yeah, and even if the city manager and city leadership can't do anything about this or won't, then how can you arrive at any other conclusion than that the police actually run the city? They actually run the city. And they are, the city manager will come out and use the mealy-mouthed language that, we should probably eventually get back to from this fucking state of the city. And this,
Whatever.
The mayor will come out and say his dumb thing or whatever. Who are the people? You kind of pointed this out. I can't remember if it was on the live stream. I think it was on the live stream, maybe. That Thomas Duffy et al. Are the only ones telling the truth. They're telling you. I mean, they're lying all the time, but they're telling you the truth about how they think and how they look at us and anyone who's not a cop. Eric Batista's not doing that. He's talking about unity and community and all this, bullshit. Thomas Duffy, when I read what Thomas Duffy says, I understand exactly how his brain works. And so he and his are really actually allowed to craft a narrative, in a way that I don't think anyone else who works for the city, let's say, as a rank and file employee would ever be allowed to.
So that's the essential question to ask. Say a guy who is in the most elite squad of the DPW. He issues a letter, a PDF statement to one of the Boston cable stations directly contradicting and undermining the city manager on the bit of on the issue where we've gotten the most national press in maybe a decade. Do you think that the DPW guy keeps his job? Or let's say the school department? Or let's say even the city manager's own cabinet? Do any of those people keep their job after doing that? I really don't think they do.
They absolutely don't. And that's it right there, right?
That's exactly what Thomas Duffy did.
Those departments are under some heel of control through the structures of power that as we recognize them. And the police department, there just isn't. I can't come to any other conclusion than that they're just not. And this is just the latest example. We've talked about this, and we've talked about it here about, when they all show up at council and they're all, geared up and they're harassing people in the hallways and stuff over the DOJ. Like, they do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're just chasing that Armenian money train, baby. What's the Worcester equivalent of the Armenian money train? It would just be like, we got a line on like 10 scripts for Perk 30s, dude.
I remember years ago, there was a cop that was like selling HGH and steroids and shit out of like a vitamin shop up off of West Boylston Street or something. I think it's like the funny thing about it is I think if anyone is a Sons of Anarchy fan, I feel like Sons of Anarchy is like the perfect analogy for like what they're doing. They're like, they break 36 arms to get like, a cup holder full of change and like a donkey's gift card or something. It's right. high risk. No, I mean, it's not high risk. High violence crimes for extremely low returns.
Yeah. I won't be able to find it right now, but there's a video of Worcester Vic Mackey, Thomas Duffy, and the rest of the Jump Out Boys literally ripping a guy out of his car in like the most unnecessary, bumbling, like 10 cops swarming around a car while it's still driving. They open the door while it's still driving. They rip the guy out while it's still driving in the car very slowly crashes into a telephone pole. Turns out that guy wasn't even the guy they were after. He just kind of looked like him, which is like code for he was like Puerto Rican or something. And they charged the guy with assault on an officer because the rolling car after Thomas Duffy pulled him out of the car touched one of the officer's legs. They pulled a guy out of a moving car. The car is still in drive. Worcester police officers have a very hard time with cars being in drive as opposed to park. If you'll remember the amazing incident by the Burncoat statue where he gets wedged in between the two cars. So good. Like, are they just... I don't know.
I couldn't believe they didn't charge the cruiser or something. They should have found somebody to charge. And everyone should remember this every time they see... And actually, we have, I guess for podcast listeners... new news on this if you haven't been reading the paper, but everyone should remember this every time they see not just protesters, anyone get charges like assault and battery on a police officer, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, the type of assault that caused this mom to be picked up by ICE, all kinds of things like that. You should remember that that's all it takes for them, or less, for them to throw the charge on you. We now know, thanks to body cameras, that the unknown liquid that Ashley Spring is charged with assaulting an officer with was water from a baby bottle. Just as we knew before, but we really know it now. It's fucking on camera, and it's on camera that they knew that the entire time. They knew that when they charged her.
It's so the Vallejo tape, as part of the Vallejo method, you say for the body camera to pick it up, She just threw water on me, hit her with assault and disorderly.
Disorderly, disturbing, she sprayed me in the face with water.
And then somehow between that occurring at 11:20 or so a.m. and 4 or 5 p.m. when the statement comes out with the charges, water, as clearly known from a baby bottle, which a baby was drinking from, but there's still a hilarious sort of still to be grabbed of the cop sniffing it suspiciously. That somehow becomes an unknown liquid. And an unknown liquid somehow allows the cops to tack on felony assault.
Yeah.
But you watch the body camera footage, you might be thinking like, wait, where was the assault? And, you know, just think about that anytime you hear anyone getting charged with assault. And yeah, rightfully,
Yeah.
Chris, including the mother.
Really, truly do think about that. And I'll tell you this, a thing that came up when I was at the bail fund from time to time, from people that were sometimes well-meaning, sometimes kind of concerned trolling, was like, oh, you bail people on all charges? What about quote-unquote violent offenses? What about quote-unquote domestic offenses? And I used to tell people, like, if you haven't been in the situation where, like, you've sort of become a cop-involved person in, let's say, like a complicated domestic situation where everyone's not getting along all the time, when the cops show up to something like that, a lot of times they just grab everybody. Like, just lock everybody up and throw the charges on them, and now you're done for the, like, you won't have to go back there tonight if you just throw cuffs on everybody, throw domestic assaults on them, and, you know, let the courts figure it out. That shit happens all the time. And that's why, like, I really want to underscore, like, don't, like, charges don't mean anything. And that is a foundational part of the way that we theoretically do a criminal legal system in the United States. A charge doesn't mean anything until you go to court and go through all that stuff. Most people's cases get dismissed. There's lots of reasons why that is. It isn't always 100% of the time because nothing happened. But, like, yeah, anyway, we found out there was some kind of discord in the household that involved a cord from a phone charger. You know, the flimsiest fucking 16th inch cord that exists. Anyway, I'm going on and on, but I just wanted to say that, like, it's really
All these hardos on the right wing of our city, including the police, talking about how she was the mother was a violent criminal, and
yeah,
like it's just crazy.
And the reason they can do that is because that will never happen to them. When the cops show up at a decent house, when the cops show up at your apartment or my apartment, they treat things a little differently based on where we live and what we look like than they do when they show up at a house full of Brazilian immigrants on Eureka Street. It's just true. Like, it's just the way it's the way it is. And it shouldn't be that way, but let's just recognize that it is that way. I promise you, I've been through years and years of experience with this. That's how it goes. They'll just grab you up. They don't care. They don't give a shit.
And if something is happening in, like, the Salisbury Street area, they aren't going unless it is to slap charges on somebody who doesn't live up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And when they show up, if they show up at the analogous situation in Salisbury Heights, where person A says person B might have, touched them with a phone cord, there's going to be a lot of follow-up conversation. There's going to be a lot of sorting that incident out. And there's probably going to be, at worst, a suggestion that maybe one of those people finds somewhere else in their network to go, stay for the night so everyone can cool off. They're not getting, locked up and getting these charges thrown on them. They're just not. And that's the only reason why. It's the only reason why.
Exactly. But now, Chris, This is a really important thing for people to understand. I don't know if I've been able to make this point appropriately, but we're getting into the territory where I think we're making it. Does ICE make decisions on who is a violent, illegal alien, violent criminal illegal alien, based on convictions, or do they do it based on charges?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to be like, listen to me, but I have extensive experience in this arena. When I've talked in the past about how I've seen people in front of me get detained by ICE in the same way that, unfortunately, now a lot of other people, including you, Bill, have had to see, that's how it happened. I was going to bail people out of jail and on charges, right? So they're pretrial. They haven't been convicted of anything. And a charge can cause ICE to lodge a detainer. It can cause them to, it is what causes them to become interested. And, more and more that the types of charges, it was getting worse still under Biden. I will tell you that. So this is not this problem didn't start in January.
Of course not.
But now it's basically any charges. And that's why I was really concerned about what might happen to the daughter. I don't know her immigration status, but she now has a quote unquote, violent charge.
Yeah. The police turned her in front of the entire world. The police turned her into what ICE would call a violent criminal, because she has a charge on her that's worse than what her mother got on her with the cell phone charger cable. Like, she is.
And the Worcester police were. Sorry, Bill, I keep doing this. Go ahead.
If the Worcester police slapped those charges on, knowing that they weren't going to stick, and the only thing, so there's one thing from Batista's announcement that marks a substantive change. The police department is now asking for those charges to be dropped by the court.
That is true.
But the fact that those charges were filed still puts her in the system, still makes her a data point in whatever AI scraping tool that ICE is using to make these deportation decisions. It doesn't matter. They're probably dropping the case because they don't care about anything else. She's just in the fucking queue now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really, really dark. It's really, really, really dark that they had to press charges to save their own ass, to save their own image. They had to press these charges on Ashley Spring and this 16-year-old girl. And now both of them are going to get rolled back, thrown out. They're going to go away, but they're going away when the cameras go away. And the reporting out of the incident centered around the charges, and the charges paint the vague picture in your average Law and Order watching like suburban mom's head of like somebody who probably deserved to get roughed up a little bit because they were acting out, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing spins on this, like, just this fucking. It's not justice. Whatever it is, it's a TV show for a death cult, man.
It's a TV show for a death cult.
I was going to write. That was a line from a speech I gave last week, and I was going to write about it in the newsletter. My post was too long, didn't write about it. But I do want to say right now, probably as a closing note, because we're getting the time here. But I said that last Tuesday, that deportation's TV show for a death cult.
The only way it makes sense is as a TV show for a death cult.
On Thursday, it comes out, Kirsty Noem wants to make a TV show where deportees get to fight each other for a reality show where there's one citizenship dangled in front of like 30, whatever word you want to use, 30 people who don't have citizenship and want it. Perhaps at the El Salvadorian Supermax prison that lets every YouTuber come down there and do videos about MS-13. They want to make an actual reality show about that. And they have, the pitch is from the guy who did Duck Dynasty. A Duck Dynasty show for people with ice detainers or whatever, vying for one. I mean, this is just, sorry to bother you, dude. Sorry to bother you is so ahead of its time. This is exactly where we were going. Somewhere between Squid Game and Sorry to Bother You is the road that we're walking down very quickly.
Yeah, you really willed this into being. Without meaning to. I should say you manifested this into being. Because I shit you not, I saw that thing. I texted you pretty quickly, but the very first thing I did was turn to Aaron. I was like, dude, like Bill used the phrase "TV show for a death cult," and Chrissy Nome just literally proposed a TV show for a death cult. It's incredible. Like, you really can't make this shit up.
It's the burden of being ahead of the trend, dude. Yeah. They I mean, they're not making it very subtle where they're taking this thing. So I do think that death cult is probably the best, I don't know, encapsulating term for like who the audience is for this shit. And you see it locally, right? Like the people locally who really like enjoy that the illegals are getting removed from our streets. I mean, I grew up with those people. I grew up in Milford, Massachusetts, which is one of the most racist places in the entire world. It's more racist than Worcester, but it's racist in the same way as Worcester. Central Massachusetts racism, I think we could stack it up against like Boers in South Africa. I mean, I think that we really could stack up. Like, we are exceptionally racist in a way that we don't have a vocabulary for.
Yeah.
But you see it in the way that these like these just towny whites who have been beaten down by the austerity regime of post-Reagan neoliberalism, but culturally they can't be seen by their peers at like a place like Greendale's as like a bitch or whatever. So they have to be right wing. And the only thing left in that nexus is to just root for other people's suffering. And the only place you get to see other people suffer is on the TV. So, or on Facebook.
Yeah, I was going to say social media.
Right. So, I mean, and that's what launched Turtle Boy, the Aidan Kearney, into the petty stardom that he now finds himself. It's just like, you know, feeding that chia pet.
Yeah.
That definitely exists here. You know how much money we could make if we started doing that shit? Oh my God. I mean, Aiden blew it, basically. Like, we would make so much money so quickly. If we did anti-immigrant news in central Massachusetts. Oh my God, dude. We'd be millionaires in 5 years.
Oh yeah.
Because that's what our media ecosystem incentivizes. Why do you think Mara Healy's talking like that about freaking how she can't do anything about ICE and, you know, stop. We need to send a patrols, or not a patrol, but like a dispatch to the border to like tell people not to come here. They're all stuck. They're all stuck because they need to be aware of how they play to the death cult watching TV. I don't know. I really do think it's that simple.
Yeah, no, and I mean there is money being fed into the media arms of the death cult in fucking mountains all the time. It's been that way for a very, very long time. If you want to make money in quote unquote media, go into right wing media, and like, you know, the Heritage Foundation will spin up a slush fund, you know, whatever to pay you. That's why you see all these insane assholes like, fucking Laura Loomer or Milo Yiannopoulos or whatever, and like they never go away. They're always around somewhere. There's always someone that will kick them, at least a low six figures to do literally anything in furtherance of, pushing the Overton window, to use an overused phrase. But it's real. Yeah, those people will never go hungry. And it's pretty cool. But, by the way, I will go right wing. I will go hard right for. I'll go hard right for Eric Batista's salary, $330,000. Give me a 5-year contract with the same golden parachute if I get terminated, and I will do it. That's what it costs.
Yeah. I'll say that I'll do it for about $350K a year, but I need to get some sort of state job after I'm run out of that. Like a full-time state job with a really boring title in a really vague bureaucracy. That's what I'm looking for. I will do it for that.
The Ed Augustus route.
For instance, like, I don't know, the director of communications efficiencies.
Or, what's Ed's title? The director of public housing or something? I'll find it. I'll look it up.
It's way too long. No, dude, it's so long I can never remember it. But Ed Augustus got his shit. Okay, this is a fun one to end on, actually. Ed Augustus got his shit rocked at a Worcester event in the Telegram about housing.
Oh yeah, he did. Finally, a little bit. He is the housing secretary of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That's
right. But housing secretary is shortening of whatever the title is, like living communities, blah 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 blah, something. Yeah, it's bad. It's long and stupid.
Oh yeah, you're right. Here we go. The state's new Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. By the way, first time we've had that department or a similar department. First time we've had a housing secretary in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in more than 30 years. He started his job, or the release went out. I'm sorry, he started his job on June 1st of 2023. June 1st of 2025 is just around the corner, my friends. And I want you all to look around you and just really marvel in the panacea of new housing that we have everywhere. How much cheaper and accessible housing has gotten in the 2 years of Ed Augustus in that leadership position.
It's so fucking, it's amazing. I love it. So at this event this week at the top of the tower, that new venue at 446 Main, in Worcester's beautiful glass facade skyscraper, our only one. Augustus was having...
That's like 80% empty.
Right, that's 80% empty, and they just opened up this like sky view place that's lit up at night. Looks like the goddamn bisexual bat cave up there. But Ed Augustus is... No one can be mad at me. I said that in a good way.
I wish it was a bisexual bat cave.
It would be much cooler if it was.
Less cool.
Yeah. What Augustus was there for was a talk to talk about how we need to take action and not talk about the housing crisis. Ed Augustus goes, inaction is not an option. What does action mean to a guy like Ed Augustus? Action means the shit he did when he had the power to act. It means just giving fucking tax breaks to corporate landlords and developers who come in and collude with each other to grossly overinflate the property market of a chosen area at a given time. This 52-year-old woman apparently goes up to him while he's giving this spiel about how we need more supply, we need more housing, we need to just let them build as much housing as they can, no regulation, haha, Reaganism. This 52-year-old woman goes up to him, says, I have been living in my apartment for 14 years. My landlord is raising my rent by $500. I cannot afford that. She says to Augustus, people in Worcester can't afford rents. We have to stop evil and greedy individuals from coming here. I agree. She's not using the proper governmental language that like an Augustus would use, or like even somebody from like Central Massachusetts Housing Alliance would use. What she's saying is, we need to stop these real estate speculators from fucking scalping our asses. Augustus responds to this woman by giving all the lines about we need to try to build more housing supply. We need more units of all types. More units of all types. That is something that we heard in City Manager Eric Batista's State of the Union address, to tie it all back last night as well. I mean, he's a disciple of Augustus. This we need more units of all types rhetoric is a way to sort of rationalize the fact that we're only building one type of housing unit right now. And it's at the high end of the rental market. This lady fucking not having it. And to, who's the reporter here? To Henry Schwann's credit, Henry Schwann went up to this lady after the meeting, after this exchange, and asked her how she felt about Augustus's response. And she said, quote, I felt that he ran around the answer. Rent stabilization needs to come to Worcester. Let's fucking go. Augustus would never bring up rent stabilization. Not once, ever. It is obviously what we need. So thank you to this woman who's 52 years old with the last name Jen E. Menmont, for showing up and giving Augustus the works on this one.
Yeah.
Rent stabilization now.
Yeah, and you did mention it that it came up in the city manager's state of the city, and it did, and I'm trying to remember all the ways that it did. This entire thing, we should close. I know we keep saying we're going to close out. I'm going to say something. I think we should maybe some general observations, and then we can call it a day. But let's. I'll start here. The city manager said, I remember that I'm trying to do math now, and I'm not good at it. The city manager, I believe, said we need 12,000 housing units over the next 10 years. I think that was like a thing that a study said. So that's
sure
1,200 units a year, every year for 10 years. He then goes on to talk about the affordable units that were secured during this process, in which we've basically just given tax breaks to any developer that will come in here and drop a 4/1 or 5/1. That just is every new quote unquote luxury apartment complex you see. That's what it is. It's like it's quick and dirty architectural definition. I believe he said this like with pride, weirdly, that 48 units came online of affordable housing. Meaning they were units at like a reduced rate available to people below, whatever the 150% of the poverty line or whatever it is. I don't know that number. And that there were almost 2,000 applications. So we need 1,200 units a year every year for 10 years. And as far as affordable housing, we got. Oh, I'm seeing in front of me here. I couldn't remember if it was 48 or 84. I was wrong. It's 83. 83 units. That's what we got.
Yep. Hey, but we also in the pipeline, we have committed Affordable Housing Trust Fund funding to future developments in which 72 units of the hundreds that will come online over the next couple of decades will be ADA accessible. So 72 units. There was a ton of really, really obvious, like taking huge credit, taking victory laps over either fake or small numbers. Like, who is his speechwriter that didn't catch this shit? But he, we had some crazy number of people get hurt and die as pedestrians over the past year. I think it was like 9. I don't know. A lot. Too many. The one factoid that he cited was that the city installed 20 speed humps, and he stopped like it was an applause line or something. 20 speed humps. 20. 20. 20. Speed humps aren't even they're pretty much useless.
Also, where do speed humps go? Do they go on Shrewsbury Street, where a lot of people get killed by cars? Do they go on Lincoln Street, where a bunch of people get killed by cars? Plantation Street, Lower Stafford Street, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? No, they go in the neighborhoods, the side street, completely residential, single-family housing neighborhoods where where the people that are pushing that live. That's where they go. They don't go on Mill Street, et cetera, et cetera.
Because we have a system where district councilors get to pick where the speed humps go. So where are they going to go?
And I'm glad you brought this up in general. Someone on the Wootenanny stream, it might have been you, it might not have been, I don't remember, brought up how much of what the city manager brought up as essentially his accomplishments was shit that Attell did. And you can take this entire traffic and pedestrian safety thing, which is the Vision Zero program. That has been, it is a city project, but the person who has been pushing that and pushing for actual things to happen is Attell. And the person who has kept their fucking mouth shut every single time that people are, bitching and moaning about Mill Street or whatever has been basically everyone else, including the city manager. Yep. He didn't do shit to make that happen.
Yeah. Man, it was an impressively bad state of the city address, but I think we gotta button up there, or we'll just keep talking for forever. But no, this was an interesting show.
I would say this, Bill. Did you have 1 to 3 general takeaways from what we watched? Just anything that brings this state of the city to mind for you as I don't know, exceptional or notable or stupid, just whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think that the whole state of the city was summed up in about 45 seconds of the 2-hour affair. So there were demonstrators there, right? And they were interrupting. There was one woman who Batista would allow to speak more than other people. And when he started talking about how the sixth priority of the administration is education funding, this lady sort of takes the floor.
They are staying here because we are making sure they have the resources they need to succeed.
Kids don't deserve to be tackled. The entire party establishment you belong to has been failing kids for decades with school shootings, mental health.
The ASL translator is translating this. It's just amazing.
I think kids matter too, right?
The crowd shouts the protester down, but he just smiles at that.
Have some justice. Justice matters more than your career or anybody's career. God will remember that.
People are choosing to move to Worcester.
He goes right back into his speech and he goes, people are choosing to move to Worcester. And it's like, dog, you're just handling this so poorly. Like the back and forth between getting interrupted and then just continuing on whatever line he was on in that speech and not acknowledging the demonstrators at all. Like, I think he in his head, maybe he processed that as not wanting to look weak, by recognizing that they were there and trying to interrupt him. In practice, what it did is it made him look like an automaton that couldn't go off script, right? And was just coming back in these moments with like lines that were just these crazy non sequiturs, and like just cheapened the entire speech. That was my favorite part. I really liked there was like 3 times that happened. The one that I just pulled out was probably my favorite one, but those were all pretty good.
Yeah. I'll keep it brief and basically just agree with you and say that if you are looking for a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel here, as I think we all desperately are right now, I think it is that was really cemented for me that Eric Batista and his staff have zero political instincts, like none whatsoever.
Yeah, right.
There are 10,000 ways that they could have done this better. I mean, both like any number of things, the speech, his reaction to the hecklers that he probably should have expected, the fact that it doesn't seem like they anticipated that really very well at all. The fact that the event wasn't ticketed or invite only, because like, who the fuck do you think is going to go to? It's like Steve Quist will show up for free, or like whether you asked him or not, and like 5 other fucking losers. But like, who else do you think is going to come? Like, control your space, control your narrative. If you're going to do the Iron Fist thing, like he fucking sucks at it, man. And he just really like froze and overreact. The reaction that he had in general through this entire thing to the resistance that he was meeting was about the worst reaction you could possibly have. So we got that going for us.
Yeah, showing visibly and with your body language and with the tempo of your speaking that you are shook and that you're rattled by it, but not saying anything about it is the worst thing you could do. That is like textbook bombing in music and comedy, in acting, like in any sort of public performance thing. That's textbook bombing. And we just got to watch that for like a beautiful hour straight.
Yeah. This was the first thing like this I've genuinely enjoyed watching in a while. And yeah, seeing him stand there completely fucking frozen while the translator is he's not speaking and the translator is translating what the protesters are saying.
Gotta translate
the
something.
ASL translator, I should say, is translating what the heckler from the crowd is saying is beautiful.
I mean, like, some of our most brilliant minds right now are doing cringe comedy, like Nathan Fielder, Tim Robinson, Tim Heidecker. They're all doing this sort of like extremely dry cringe comedy that is genius. But I would encourage all 3 of them to watch Eric Batista in this State of the City. It is some of the most elite. Like, you couldn't have planned it better. It's like a reality outpacing satire in a way. In like the cringy, like just feeling that this thing leaves you with. It is really something else.
Yeah.
Eric Batista imagine if this is just like a whole like performance art bit, and he's like, guys, I got a special coming out. Next year. Netflix picked it up. What do you think? I was city manager in this stupid little city in Worcester, Massachusetts for a year and a half, and it was all a stunt. That'd be sick.
Real Bulworth.
If he Borats us.
Or Borats, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well,
All right.
I'm still trying to write tonight, I think. So I don't know. I should probably start doing that. But yeah, this is fun. This was an interesting episode. We will be back hopefully next week if Chris keeps his drinks away from his laptop. But Chris, any word for the people at home before we get going?
No, I just yes, one thing. I want to assure everyone that I do not learn lessons from my mistakes. So if we're delayed next week, it's because I spilled a drink on my laptop again. I don't learn from things. That's not how I roll.
The line of credit this man has at Best Buy, it's just, oof. It's obscene.
Catch me if you can.
This has been another episode of Outdoor Cats. We will catch you again next week. All right.
I guess doing some kind of a study. What's in the trash? What's in the trash? What's in the trash? What's in the trash? Trying to figure out, I guess, doing some kind of a study. What's in the trash? What's in the trash? What's in the trash? What's in the trash? Trying to figure out, I guess, doing some kind of a study. Trying to figure out, I guess, doing some kind of a study. Trying to figure out, I guess, doing some kind of a study. Trying to figure out, I guess, doing some kind of a study.
So people are going through the trash. People are going through the trash. They're sorting the trash. There are companies going through trash. They're sorting the trash. There's people sorting trash. It happens, and this is what they do. 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 They're sorting the trash. There's people sorting trash.